Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students, how are you? I hope all of you and everyone around you is safe and healthy. I am your English teacher. I am here with a new chapter. Students, today we are going to start chapter number 9, The Thrush Girl. This is on page number 69 of your Oxford Reading Circle book 4. Students, this is the story of a little girl. She knew the animals' languages. So let's begin the chapter to know that this quality of her proved to be good or bad for her. Students, as usual, first I'll read a paragraph, then I'll explain it in English and Urdu. And before explaining, I'll tell you meaning of difficult words. Let's begin. The Thrush Girl. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who longed to be able to understand animals. She went to her old grandmother and said, "Oh, grandmother, I would so love to understand the animals. Can you teach me how to do it?" The grandmother could do magic, but not much. Thrush is a small or medium-sized songbird, typically having a brown back, spotted breast, and loud song. Long means have a strong wish or desire. This paragraph states that once upon a time there was a little girl who wanted to understand the animals' language. For this purpose, she went to her grandmother's house and asked her that, "Could you teach me the animals' language?" Her grandmother had very little knowledge of it. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. एक दफ़ा का जिक्र है कि एक छोटी लड़की थी जिसकी ख्वाहिश थी कि वो इस काबिल हो जाए कि एनिमल्स की ज़बान समझ सके। इस मकसद के लिए वो अपनी ग्रैंडमदर के पास गई और अपनी ख्वाहिश का इजहार किया। उसकी ग्रैंडमदर को इसके बारे में बहुत थोड़ी मालूमात थी। लेट्स मूव ऑन। My child, she said, I can only understand the thrushes and that is not worth the trouble. Please teach me, replied the little girl. So the grandmother taught her to understand the thrushes. It was much easier than she had thought. She only had to be kind to the birds and throw them a few crumbs from time to time. Worth means equivalent in value to the sum or item specified. Trouble means difficulty or problem. Crumbs means a small fragment of bread, cake or biscuit. This paragraph states that when the little girl asked to her grandmother for learning about the animal's language, grandmother replied, "I can only understand the thrushes and this is not the solution of your problem." Girl requested to her grandmother that, "Please teach me." So her grandmother taught her to understand the thrushes. Girl thought that learning thrushes would be very difficult, but she found it very easy. Her grandmother said to her that she had to be very kind to the birds and give them crumbs. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब little girl ने कहा कि मैं animals की language सीखना चाहती हूँ, तो grandmother ने reply किया कि मैं सिर्फ thrushes की language समझ सकती हूँ. Then little girl said कि please मुझे भी सिखा दें. Grandmother ने thrushes की language उस लड़की को समझा दी. उस लड़की का ख्याल था कि thrushes की language समझना मुश्किल होगा, लेकिन यह उसकी सोच से भी ज़्यादा आसान था. उसको सिर्फ बर्ड्स के साथ रहमदिली से पेश आना था और उन्हें कुछ क्रम्स देने थे. Okay students, let's move on. When she had learned, she walked through the woods, listening to the thrushes. Her grandmother was right. They had not much to say. The girl went to her father and said, "Father, bring in the hay, for it will rain tomorrow." Hay means grass that has been dried for use as fodder. This paragraph states that when little girl's grandmother taught her thrushes language, she went to the woods to listen the thrushes. Her grandmother was right. They had not much to say. One day she listened thrushes and went to her father and said to him that, "Father, bring hay in the house because it will rain tomorrow." Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब लिटिल गर्ल ने अपनी ग्रैंड मदर से थ्रशेस की लैंग्वेज सीख ली तो वो फॉरेस्ट चली गई और थ्रशेस की बातें सुनने लगी। उसकी ग्रैंड मदर सही थीं, थ्रशेस के पास कुछ ज़्यादा बोलने के लिए नहीं था। एक दिन वो लड़की अपने फादर के पास गई और कहा कि हे यानी सूखी हुई घास जो थी वो अंदर लेकर आ जाएं क्योंकि कल बारिश होगी। लेट्स मूव ऑन। The father believed the child. He brought in the hay, and by evening it was stacked in the barn. The next morning it began to rain. All the hay in the district was soaked, and only his was dry. The father was glad he had listened to his child, but all the other farmers were angry. They thought only of their own loss. "The girl is no good," they said. "She will go to the bad." But the little girl said nothing. She went back to her grandmother and said, "Now I would like to understand the moles as well." Stack means a pile of objects, typically one that is neatly arranged. Barn means a large building used for storing grains. Soak means make or allow something to become thoroughly wet by immersing it in liquid. Glad means feeling pleasure or happiness. This paragraph states that when little girl said to her father to bring the hay in the house, her father believed her and brought the hay in the barn. When it was rain in the next morning, all the hay in the district was soaked, while her father's hay was dry. He was so happy, but all the other farmers were angry because of their loss. They said, "Girl is not good, she will go to bed." But little girl said nothing. She went back to her grandmother and expressed her wish that she wants to learn mole's language. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब लिटिल गर्ल ने अपने फादर से कहा कि वो हे यानी जो सूखी हुई घास चारा था उसे अंदर लेकर आए क्योंकि कल बारिश होगी, तो उसके फादर ने उसकी बात पर बिलीव किया और वो सारा चारा अंदर लेकर आए और उसे बांड में रख दिया। अगली सुबह बारिश हुई और डिस्ट्रिक्ट के तमाम किसानों का हे जो था वो भीग गया, लेकिन सिर्फ उस लड़की के फादर का चारा ड्राई रहा। वो बहुत खुश थे कि उन्होंने अपनी बेटी की बात सुनी और इस नुकसान से बच गए। लेकिन दूसरे किसान बहुत गुस्सा हुए, उन्हें सिर्फ और सिर्फ अपने नुकसान का ख्याल था। उन्होंने उस लड़की को बहुत बुरा भला कहा, लेकिन वो खामोश रही और अपनी ग्रैंड मदर के पास गई और जाकर कहा कि अब मैं मोल्स की जबान सीखना चाहती हूँ। लेट्स मूव ऑन टू नो द फर्दर स्टोरी। "Oh, my child," replied the grandmother, "what a lot you want! Just be good to the animals. Then you will understand them after a time." It was 3 months before the little girl could understand the moles too, and one day she said to her father, "Bury the potatoes deep in the ground, for tomorrow it will freeze." Bury means put or hide underground. This paragraph states that when the little girl went to her grandmother and expressed her desire to understand the moles, her grandmother replied, "Oh, my child, Just be kind to the animals, then after some time you will be able to understand them. And after 3 months of this, she was able to understand the moles. One day she said to her father that hide all the potatoes in the ground as it will freeze tomorrow. Okay students, now I'll explain these lines in Urdu. जब उस लड़की ने अपनी ग्रैंड मदर से कहा कि अब वो मोल्स की लैंग्वेज समझना चाहती है, तो ग्रैंड मदर ने जवाब दिया कि तुम जो भी सीखना चाहती हो उसके लिए तुम्हें एनिमल्स के साथ काइंडली पेश आना होगा, यानी उनसे रहमदिली का सुलूक करना होगा, और कुछ अरसे बाद तुम इनकी जबान समझने के काबिल हो जाओगी। और 3 महीनों में वो इस काबिल हो गई कि वो मोल्स को समझ सके। और एक दिन उसने अपने फादर से कहा कि वो पोटैटोज को जमीन में दबा दें वरना ये कल फ्रीज हो जाएंगे। लेट्स मूव ऑन। एंड श्योर इनफ, नेक्स्ट डे इट फ्रोज। The father had buried his potatoes and they were undamaged. All the other farmers moaned and groaned, for they had not a single good potato left. He had warned them all, but they had not listened. They thought the little girl was bewitched. The little girl said nothing. Undamaged means not harmed or damaged. Moan and groan is a phrase. It means to grumble or complain. Bewitched means affected by a magic spell. This paragraph states that when the little girl suggested to her father to bury all the potatoes in the ground to prevent them from frozen, he did it. And next day when all the potatoes were froze, only his potatoes were undamaged, while all the other farmers were grumbling as they had not any single good potato left. Little girl's father had warned all the farmers, but they didn't listen and blamed the girl for their loss. They thought the girl is bewitched. The little girl remained silent as before. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब लड़की ने अपने फादर से कहा कि तमाम पोटैटोज को वो ज़मीन में छुपा दें वरना ये कल तक फ्रीज हो जाएंगे, तो फादर ने ऐसा ही किया। अगले दिन जैसा लड़की ने कहा था वैसा ही हुआ। चूंकि इस लड़की के फादर ने तमाम पोटैटोज ज़मीन में छुपा दिए थे, लिहाजा वो महफूज रहे। जबकि दूसरे फार्मर्स दुख से गिरियाजारी करने लगे क्योंकि उनके पास एक भी आलू सही हालत में नहीं बचा था। उस लड़की के फादर ने दूसरे फार्मर्स को वार्न किया था, लेकिन उन्होंने उनकी बात ना सुनी। उन दूसरे फार्मर्स का ख्याल था कि लड़की पर जादू किया हुआ है और उन्होंने इस बार भी उस लड़की को ही बुरा भला कहा, और इस बार भी पहले की तरह वो लड़की खामोश रही। Students, inshallah we will continue this chapter in the next session. Now move towards exercise A. Exercise A, this is on page number 76 of your book. Students, you can see question number 1 of this exercise on your screen. Question is, what did the grandmother teach the child? Yes students, tell me what she taught. Yes, the grandmother taught the child how to understand thrushes, moles and bees. Let's move on. Students, now you can see exercise B of this chapter on your screen. Exercise B, reference to context. This is on page number 76 and 77 of your book. Read these lines from the story, then answer the questions. The girl is no good, they said. She will go to the bed. Students, we have read this line in today's lecture. Now let's see the questions. Who says these words and to whom? Yes students, who says these words? Yes, the farmers said these words to the girl's father. Next question is, who are they talking about? Why do they say this? Yes. Answer is, they were talking about the girl. The girl had warned her father that it would rain. The other farmers were angry about it. Last question is, what did they say about her later? Answer is, they said the child is bewitched. We will burn her. Students, read this chapter thoroughly, then make title page and index, and do question number 1 of exercise A and exercise B1 in your English literature copy. You also have to learn this work. Inshallah, we will continue this chapter in the next session. Thank you. Till then, take care of yourself and your family. Allah Hafiz.